everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of our Twin Flame Journey. And we left off last time at the separation, and the what? The runner, right? He left, and he wasn't going to look back, and I knew that he was not coming back. But before we get there, we've had a couple questions about our last segment, and to answer the question, what we had mentioned that I'd taken 2 years from my last relationship to when I had met Lee, and what I was doing in those 2 years, and what I was doing was not looking for a man, and not looking for somebody else to complete me, but was looking for somebody that I didn't know, and that person was myself. And I had to really take some time and wake up and figure out who I was as a person without somebody in my life. And I learned to come out of a religion that I was born into and into my own spirituality. And I learned to meditate, and I learned to go inside and pull out all of the, I call them uns, all of the uns that I had in me, the unwanted, unneeded, unloved, unattractive. I could go on for days, but all the uns that were inside me, what I had to do was I had to play my story and go into that story and forgive myself for blaming myself for my story. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
So I spent a lifetime blaming myself for a lot of things that had happened in my childhood and growing up, and what had got me to where I was in my life. And I had to go in and realize that it wasn't my fault. Everything wasn't my fault. And I had to forgive myself for blaming myself. It took a while to clear out all of that junk, all of the layers that made me my story. It didn't make me who I was, it made me my story. And I was living that story. I was playing every part to the fullest. So I had to become awake, and I was no longer asleep at the wheel, and I was no longer looking for somebody to complete me. I was perfectly content with who I was and what I had to offer me and what I had to offer the world. And then he comes along. It happened that way. I had to.
What you went through, was that like? Did you have any of the awakening Kundalini or any kind of spiritual awakening in the process of it?
Oh yeah, I had to. Oh, all of that. I went through a serious awakening. I fought myself a lot in my dreams. I had so many what I thought were mental breakdowns, and they were just dying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They were dying, and I was physically dying. I wasn't physically sick. I was just dying. I was dying to my story. I wasn't dying to who I was. I was dying to my story. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So, you know what happened after that? Then I met this guy. And if you've watched the last video, and if you haven't, you should before you watch this one, because you're going to be all confused. And if you haven't watched the other ones, you should probably watch 1 through 3 before you hop onto 4, because it's a hot mess.
On that note, I think we ended with me running.
Oh.
Actually being chased away.
We ended with the night that...
Yeah, right. That you pushed and...
climbed the mountain.
There was. So,
It happened. So let's just throw that out there. It happened. He left. I looked through the blinds and
I couldn't get out fast enough.
Right. I couldn't get you out of there fast enough.
Right.
I needed you to go. I was sick to my stomach.
And I was kind of like, okay, whatever that was is gone. Or so I thought. So what happened to me, what ends up happening is now that I've had a glimpse of what I know that is real out there, the search began. It's almost backwards, but honestly, I felt like the search for whatever the hell that was became almost something that started to make me look inside. So it started off probably not even 30, 40 days later. I started to have kind of what I think most people call a mental life review. And I started kind of backtracking some things that I was doing in my career and some things that I was doing in my relationships. And I started to kind of dwindle all of the relationships down, thinking that, okay, maybe I can just find somebody who can kiss me just like that, right? Or, you know, somebody who really would listen to me. The problem with that whole echo was I still wasn't listening to myself completely. And even in work, I was very driven and I was very demanding as far as being number one and being the best and being the greatest and getting results. That's what I did. And I remember there was this point probably coming into 2000 and the end of 2006. You know, I was really starting to feel it. Was really starting to go through some really deep changes, and these changes were they were things that I kept trying to tell myself that I couldn't fix. And you know, these are the things that happened to your past that, you know, the effect of what she went through with doing the unpacking was now infected in me. And I didn't quite understand that. I mean, as we've been talking a whole lot, and that's what we continue to do. And there's so many different discoveries that you're going to have about what this connection truly is. But I remember specifically, I was just really angry and really broken and really frustrated, and I had to sit in front of some guys that I worked with, and I allowed them to tell me about myself. And remember, this was, you know, both of the personal and the ethics of my career. I needed to know what I was.
That took a while, didn't it?
Oh, it was brutal. It was.
I wasn't there.
Brutal.
I'm only imagining.
It was really, because what I was thinking, I wasn't thinking about her at all. But what I did have in me was now planted. And they told me about myself. They really let me have it. They didn't hold anything back. I was demanding. I was controlling. I was, okay, just call it like it is. I was an asshole. And I mean, it's okay to be an asshole and then have other people tell you you're an asshole. And I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, each one of you, all 12 of you who got the chance to tell me how much of an asshole I really was. The thing about when somebody says things about you, you can take that and absorb it. But you have to remember, they didn't get that energy by themselves. You had to have created it. And that energy came back. And it was the most painful experience, but was the most beautiful experience. Because even though I went into a deep depression thereafter, something in me changed. The way I started looking at people, the way I started treating people, the way I started treating my loved ones, the way I started treating everything out there. And the more I started treating everybody better, the worse I felt. The worse I felt about everything that I'd done, everything that I was doing. And it was, coming into 2007, I knew that this was my last year. I could feel it. I felt that this is time for me to go either deeper into this, whatever this is, and just let go and just. I was now in the midst of my story, which was history, but it was his story at the same time. And the switch had become more powerful because now I was flipping the switch on myself. Yes, the switch can do that. And I was really going into some deep, dark places. Um, I didn't, and it didn't take much because, at this point, my mind was operating at a full capacity. Um, I couldn't sleep, wasn't eating very well. Well, I never eat very well, but I really wasn't eating very well. I was really very short with the people in my life. But at the same time, you could tell that there was a softness that was coming into me. And that softness was in the emotional breakdown side of what I had experienced, what I was going through, um, and still didn't understand why this was happening to me and what I did to deserve all of this. Um, I did try a couple of times to talk to my mother about it. I tried to talk to my dad about it, um, and that was very unsuccessful because my dad and I were very estranged. My mom, she kind of stayed away because I knew that I wasn't the man that I was supposed to be during that time for her or for myself for that matter. So it was very elusive and it was very painful because the only thing I could think of was that I could blame everybody on the outside, but I couldn't do that anymore. It was almost like somebody took that capability away from me, the ability to blame everybody else around me for everything that happened to me. And it made who I was um, that much more painful to look at. I don't remember much looking into the mirror at all during that time. But I know that the mirror that was placed inside of me was there to stay. And it was getting very intense very quickly. And then the dream started. I started dreaming of being asked about why I was making choices, being asked what these choices were, being asked um, what is it I truly wanted, what did I want to experience, and it was really surreal because I really had never had a belief. I didn't have a belief in much of anything. I believed in my capabilities. I believed in the capabilities of others because I could see their strengths, and I utilized that most of my life for success, for um, domination in some cases. And I didn't understand the gift I had either. I didn't understand the gift of being able to see somebody's heart and then go in and try to hold their heart and help them through things. I didn't see that side of me either. All I could see was all the bad. And that bad continued to keep me spiraling. What were you going through?
Um, during those 2 years, I well, I mean, the night that you left, I I knew that you were gone. Um, the next day, I woke up and I was sad, but I was angry too at me and at you, and but very sad. And I didn't know what the hell had happened over the past few months that um, had me so messed up. That had me not meditating. It had me only focusing on when you were going to call, what you were going to do, when you were going to come over. And I had realized that it had taken me away from what I'd spent 2 years building. But I needed it. I needed that connection. I wanted it, but I knew that I had lost it. So I went out to a special place that I go out to, and I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And I yelled for you. I yelled for you by name, and I said, "Why are you such an asshole? Why don't you have your shit together? Why are you lying? Why are you out there lying? Why can't you just come home?" And it's funny because I called it home. And so I laid out there for probably an hour, and then I left. And then I never really looked back, and I began to live again. I would think of you from time to time. Something would remind, I would drive past the place we met, or it it was just an odd feeling sometimes that I would think of you, pass by certain things, or your name would pop up, or something would happen. I'd see somebody that looked like you, and but those things would happen. But I quit looking for you. I quit wondering, and I moved on, and I started living, and I started dating. Um, just just started living. And I didn't sit at home on the couch and hold the phone and wait for you to call or wait for you to text or email. I didn't do that. And I met somebody that I was dating, and it progressed. The relationship progressed to um, I was staying at his house a lot, or he was staying at mine a lot, and it got to the point where the relationship started to get more serious. And at that point, I stopped to think about what I was doing in my life and where I wanted to go. And I was so connected to you, but I didn't know it.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
I hope it makes sense,
No,
because
I think everybody
I
understands that
felt
piece.
him. I just didn't know what it was at that point. I knew that something had changed in me. Something had changed in me that made me want to change.
Hmm.
Right? So, um, at this point in time in my life, I realized that, I'm ready to settle down. And I was 35. I don't even remember. Yeah, I was 35, 36, 37. And I was ready to just settle down. Um, I had my daughters from my previous marriage, and um, they I was single, so I was all over the place, and I didn't want to raise them by myself. I just didn't want to. I wanted a family at that point in time. I was ready for the American dream, the white picket fence, the pickup truck, the whole deal. And this guy was just a wonderful guy. He was just a really nice, genuine guy, and he'd never been married. He didn't have any children. I didn't have to worry about any baby mama drama or any all that mess. And he met my kids, and then he proposed, and I accepted. So I was about to live the American dream.
Mm.
um, about to. And I was okay. There's the word. I was okay. I was happy. I wasn't connected. I knew that the connection was there with you, but it wasn't there anymore. The connection was there, but you were gone. So why am I? When I got engaged, um, I felt like I was missing a lot. I felt like I was missing that kiss. I felt like I was not doing the right thing. I felt like I was cheating this guy out of honesty.
Mm.
I felt like I was cheating this guy out of a true love because I knew that I loved him. I knew that. I knew that I loved him, but I knew that I wasn't connected to him. And I knew that I was connected to you. And from that point, I started thinking about you more. I started reading old emails. I started daydreaming about the kisses. I started regretting where I had been, what we had done, and um, it was almost like you had died, and I was mourning you,
Mm.
and it was an odd feeling.
And that much is true. I was dying. I was dying because whatever this was that was in me, that had me asleep at the wheel for all that time, it was time for a car wreck, a very bad one. So the dreams got stronger according to what I was experiencing. Um, and it was like somebody was there asking me questions about all the people in my life. And then I was asked in this state of being, what about the one who lost her words? And I at first went, I don't even know who the hell you're talking about. And it always seemed to be that every night, night after night, month after month, because this went on for a few months, that I was being asked, what about the one who lost her words? And it really started to go really heavy on me. At this point, I was, during my off time, I was just completely immersed in trying to numb myself by just keeping myself going, trying to keep up the same facade that I had all that time. But I could also feel that something else was gone now. I wasn't seeking something to fill that emptiness because I knew that emptiness was there. So I became more distant in my current connections and even in my current relationships. Um,
You
thing was,
were
is
living with somebody
I was living with somebody, and then I was still seeing, my wife, and then
who didn't live there. She lived someplace else.
right, and then I was seeing one other person, and this person really, you search for somebody who's going to give you enough poison that you start to really believe in that poison and what that poison can do to you, and it was very toxic, and I didn't care. It was time for me to go. I knew that I was going to be turning. I think this was in 2007 still, coming into late fall. I just, or early fall actually. I just didn't. I didn't care. I didn't have any concept. And I remember I was just trying to figure out. Okay, I want to just be with one, and which one? Which one do I want to choose here? Because I just can't. I don't know what happened. I was so constantly looking for something, and then I felt like, okay, I think did I find it? So in my dreams at this point, the old man was there driving half to death, trying to get me to see that I was heading to a very deep, dark place, and um, that car ride was just the scariest feeling I ever had, because I knew that it was going into a darkness that I could not see yet. I couldn't see anything, and most times when I would wake up from it, and I would look around because it just felt so real. And I didn't understand anything that I was going through. I thought that I was just sick, or I thought that I'd done so many bad things that it was all catching up with me and it was going to come to a head.
I was dreaming too. I was dreaming a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was dreaming of a lot of dying, but in different ways. How do I get out of what I'm in?
Hmm.
How do I get out of now I'm in this relationship and my kids are vested and I'm vested and my family's vested in it. I didn't want to hurt the guy because he's a great guy.
And
But I was dreaming. I was dreaming.
and I had actually had a really good friend during that time that I was talking to on Yahoo a lot. And he was a great friend. I mean, he was just always there, and I would tell him about what was going on, and he was really trying to save me. You know, I could get the sense he lived in Florida, and we would just talk constantly about what I was going through on the inside, and you know, we would always talk about the secrets. You know, what I was doing and who I was doing it with, and what I was doing on top of that, and it was really very, 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 very painful. And I was running out of space. I was running out of space to try and continue to be this way. And I think that's where it actually came back forward. And I ended up hearing the screams over water. And it was the strangest thing. I heard my name being yelled from across the water, which I thought, okay, yeah, it's about right. I'm going to die soon because I'm starting to hallucinate, and these dreams just won't go away. But that same question still haunted me: who was the one who lost her words? So,
Were you looking for other women at that time, trying to date?
no, no, I really wasn't.
Just trying to juggle your wife and
I
your
was,
girlfriend and the
I
other
was,
one.
and worse than that, I was trying to find out if they could hear me, if they could actually see into me. I looked into their eyes like I was looking into your eyes, and it just wasn't there anymore. Something, something was. It wasn't reflected back the way that. And I thought, okay, that's what I was supposed to experience while I was here. So, I guess I don't get to have that. As a man, my masculine energy came out and said, well, you fucked this one up.
You can't say the F word on the air.
Well, so anyway,
I'm gonna have to edit that out.
you probably
It's
would.
more work for me.
But I did. I screwed the pooch on this, and it wasn't. It really wasn't about. It wasn't about you. It was about me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was because of you that I was able to see me, because now I was looking for everybody else to see me the way that I felt. And once you have this click that comes with this connection that lets you know that your switch has now been disabled, other things in your life will surface. It doesn't necessarily have to be the other person that you start to see the changes in. It's a subtle change. And unless energy is pushed forward in both directions, do you really understand what that change is? So,
were you noticing things? I was noticing things that were different. I was noticing that I would feel sick, but I wasn't sick. Or, I mean, I was.
I was looking to get numb a lot.
Well, right. But I was feeling a lot of times that I had a stomach ache, but I realized this is odd because it doesn't feel like it's my stomach ache. Or I would feel my heart hurting, but realize my heart's fine. I don't understand what's going on. I thought I was batshit crazy. I can say that.
I thought I was dying.
Right. And right.
Because I could feel in my heart, I felt something keep stabbing at it. And
but neither one of us knew what this was.
I would lose my air. Oh, that was the worst. It was almost like I was being put into a box with no air in it. Mm-hmm. And this could be at any moment. Some people, I think people call it, what is that? Where you, an anxiety attack.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what? That's not necessarily an anxiety attack.
We were living separate lives. We were not in communication. Mm-mm. I went to the doctor. I got on every antidepressant in the world, feels like.
I was high a lot.
I did, because I was depressed. I wasn't. Something inside of me was, everybody was saying that I was bipolar. One minute you're happy, one minute you're sad, one minute you're excited, one minute you're not looking forward to even getting out of bed. And I was marrying somebody like this. And um yeah, at the doctor going, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I feel like sometimes I'm living somebody else's life. And I'm looking from the outside in and going, who in the hell are you? When I had spent so much time awakening and in self discovery, and where the hell did that go?
Right.
I wasn't meditating anymore. I had lost myself again. I was trying to create a whole new story. A whole new one with excerpts of the other story. I was pulling those back and trying to create a whole new story to go to coincide with the other story. It was a mess, and ended up at the doctor on medications and not knowing where the hell my life was going. But from the outside looking in, everything was wonderful. I was getting married, buying a house, bought a business. Everything was wonderful. But inside, not so much.
Yeah. And as you would go through your different phases of anxiety, that anxiety on top of my own caused me to lose air.
Mm.
And it was really interesting because sometimes I knew it wasn't mine and I just needed to go outside and get more space, which was really strange because that's what I ended up doing when it came down to it. I ended up on MySpace. Not sure why or how or why or what I was even thinking when I did it, but
Go away, Mike.
once,
That didn't happen.
yeah, it did.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Nobody saw.
He's been talking.
Nobody saw him.
So,
Just keep talking.
so what ended up happening was I did end up on MySpace, and I just happened to look down, and
Dun, dun.
well, I guess you'll have to watch the next one because what happened from there.
Oh, you guys are gonna be
Could
so mad.
Yes, it the one of the things that we probably should say also is that we could hear each other.
We didn't know it.
You just have to kind of listen to the next one.
Figure that out.
Yes.
We didn't know it, but we could.
They can hear you if they're not with you.
If you're separated from your twin, they can hear you.
They sure can.
I heard you.
I love you. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yes, we will. Sooner than
Later.
later. Later.
Later.